I've been walking the beat at San Vicente International for 12 years now. That's SVIT if you want the abbreviation. And every day, every single patrol, it's just noise and hurry and the smell of stale coffee mixing with jet fuel. But it's routine. It's always routine until it isn't. And that one particular Tuesday morning, it broke the routine so hard. It shattered everything I thought I knew about my job, about people, and especially about my partner, Titan. Titan isn't just some German shepherd. He's a Belgian Malinois, maybe 90 pounds of pure coiled intensity, built like a lightweight boxer and fast as lightning, with eyes that look right through you, not at you. He's the best narcotics and explosives dog in the region. And to me, he's family, We've been through bomb scares, silent raids, and 1,000 midnight shifts where the only conversation was the rhythm of his breathing next to my boots, and I trust his gut more than my own police manual. That's Handler Jake Rollins, by the way, and this is the story about the day Titan didn't just find the bad guy, he saved her life too. The terminal that morning was a typical Tuesday surge. Luggage trolleys clicking like castanets, the low, steady hum of the global machine. I was adjusting my cap, trying to look sharp because command was on edge about some vague intel, nothing concrete, just a general heightened alert. And Titan, he was trotting beside me, leash loose, tail giving that slow, confident sway he does when he's just cruising, every sense dialed in but totally relaxed. I murmured, "Easy, boy, just another walkthrough," and he twitched one ear, acknowledging the command, but mostly he was just enjoying the show. Kids pointing, travelers taking hushed photos. He was magnetic, he always was. But then we hit the flow of incoming passengers from the overseas arrivals, and something hit him. It was like watching a perfectly tuned engine suddenly seize up. He stopped mid-stride, his ears snapping forward, his whole body going rigid, that low, muscular stance that always tells me he's locked. He didn't growl, not yet, but his head tilted towards the gate, and his nostrils flared once, twice, deep, silent sniffs, tasting the air for something only he could perceive. I tightened the leash, my heart giving that familiar police thump-thump. "What is it, partner? What's your ghost?" I whispered. He held the tension for maybe 2 seconds, which felt like 2 hours, before he suddenly relaxed, tail giving a single, almost embarrassed flick. I breathed out, giving him a quick scratch behind the vest. "Just keeping me honest, how you big fake." I chuckled, trying to shake off the unease. But I shouldn't have laughed. Not then. Because within 5 minutes, the air itself would turn cold, and Titan's real reaction would expose a secret so twisted, so horrifying, that the terminal would literally freeze around us. The woman entered the check-in area right on schedule, almost exactly 9:47 a.m. I didn't see her as anything special at first, just another passenger in a busy crowd. She was tall, maybe late 20s, light hair pulled back, wearing dark. But it wasn't the bump that got me. It was the way she moved. Everyone else was rushing, looking at screens, checking watches, bumping shoulders, but she was slow, deliberate, every step measured, almost rehearsed. It was like she was trying to blend into a crowd she clearly didn't belong to. And that, of course, was when Titan lifted his head again. Only this time, there was no relaxation, no flick of the tail. He went from 0 to 100 in a millisecond. His head locked on her like radar, absolutely unyielding. His body language was all hard lines and taut muscles, ears pinned forward, eyes fixed. I remember trying to pull the leash, murmuring, "Easy, Titan, she's." But before I could finish the word harmless, he let out the sound. It wasn't a growl, not yet, and it wasn't the sharp, explosive bark he uses for a direct threat. It was a quiet, restrained, deep-chested whimper growl like a steam pipe about to burst, unmistakable. I felt the familiar adrenaline spike in my gut, that cold, heavy suspicion that years on the force have taught you to obey without question. My fingers tightened on the leather leash. "Do you see something, buddy?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the terminal noise. The woman was approaching the security line, fumbling slightly with her boarding pass. She adjusted her coat. And that's when I saw the faint tremor in her hands, just a tiny little shake, like she was running on pure adrenaline and fear, but she still looked like a mom-to-be, just nervous about flying. Then Titan exploded. It was one single, deafening bark, the kind that cuts through every other noise in the terminal like a knife through silk. A commanding sound, The woman froze solid, absolutely pale beneath the harsh fluorescent lights, clutching those paper bags so hard her knuckles went white, and she pressed one hand instinctively against her belly. Heads swiveled, passengers gasped, and the low hum of the airport died, replaced by a sudden, sickening silence filled with curiosity and immediate, rising fear. "Ma'am, stay where you are," I yelled, pulling hard on Titan's leash, my boots skidding slightly. But he wasn't obeying. Not really. He was lunging, straining, his amber eyes blazing with an intensity one hadn't seen in months. "Please, make him stop," she cried out, her voice thin and trembling, pressing herself back against the boarding gate desk, tears instantly welling up. "What's happening? I haven't done anything." But Titan didn't stop. He was frantic now, desperate, a continuous, guttural bark that echoed off the pillars and glass. It wasn't aggression, I knew that sound. It was pure, unadulterated warning, like he was screaming at us, "Look closer! You're missing it! It's right there!" Passengers were stumbling backwards, some pulling out phones, some shielding children. The chaos was immediate and visceral. I saw the fear in her eyes, yes, but beneath it, beneath the panic, there was a flash of something else, something cold and controlled. Calculation, which is maybe why I doubled down. "Rex, heel!" I commanded, crouching low, trying to get his eyes, trying to get control. I kept my own eyes locked on her. I noticed how she was clutching that enormous belly, not protectively, but guarding it like it was a package, not a life. And then, as one of those paper bags brushed her dark jeans, there was a faint, almost imperceptible metallic sound, a tiny clink. In that moment, everything clicked. My police brain, Titan's instinct, the strange rehearsal in her steps. The terror in her eyes wasn't because of the dog. It was because her act was failing. I motioned to Officer Daniels, who was rushing up from the checkpoint. "Daniels, we need secondary screening now." I barked. The woman backed away, her face twisting into true terror this time. "No, you can't. I'm pregnant," she shrieked, making a desperate turn to run. But Titan was faster. He lunged a massive, muscular surge, pulling the leash so hard it nearly ripped from my grip. He stopped just short of her, his nose pushing into the air right near her stomach. His entire body was shaking with an almost unbearable tension. Passengers gasped. A baby started crying somewhere in the receding crowd. The air was suffocating, heavy with adrenaline and the unknown. I had to make the call. "Ma'am," my voice was low, commanding, overriding the noise. "We're taking you in for screening right now." Before she could form a protest, Daniels and another officer, Perez, were flanking her. Her lips parted in shock, but she didn't fight, not really. The fight had gone out of her. She was escorted away toward the private security room, still murmuring that terrible, broken cry. "Please, make him stop." And Titan, still growling softly, watched her go. He knew we were far from over. The security room was small, sterile, cold. That awful fluorescent light buzzing overhead, the quiet hum of the body scanner waiting. I stood outside the glass with Titan, watching intently. He was pacing, his tail rigid, eyes glued to Evelyn's back. That was the name on her boarding pass, Evelyn Hayes, and he was letting out those soft, frustrated whines, pawing at the door. His unease was contagious, tightening my chest. Inside, Evelyn kept rubbing her belly, muttering, sweating profusely. "I'm not feeling well," she said weakly to the female screener, trying to buy time. The officers exchanged uncertain looks. Then Titan gave a short, abrupt, "We need medical on standby now." I barked, grabbing the radio. Perez raised an eyebrow, about to question me, but before a word left his lips, Evelyn gasped sharply and doubled over, her hands clamped onto her swollen abdomen. Titan exploded into a frenzy, slamming his massive paw against the glass door. My blood ran cold. "Call medical now," I screamed into the radio. Whatever this was, it wasn't a standard attention. It was the moment Titan had been warning us about all along. The scream she let out sliced through the silence like razor wire. I shoved the door open, Titan lunging in beside me, whining anxiously. Evelyn was slumped in the chair, drenched in sweat, trembling uncontrollably. Her pulse was irregular. The screener yelled, "Ma'am, can you hear me?" I knelt beside her. She looked at me through tear-filled eyes, her lips trembling. It's not supposed to happen yet," she whispered. 7 months? I still had time. "What do you mean?" I asked, confusion flooding my mind. "Is it labor?" She shook her head violently. "No, it's not labor. Something's wrong inside." Her voice faded into a sob. "Please, save my baby." The paramedics burst in, sirens faintly echoing from outside. "BP is dropping fast. We need to move," they shouted, securing her onto the stretcher. As they worked, Titan started whining louder, frantically circling the woman, then darting toward one of the paper bags on the floor. He nudged it insistently toward me, barking sharply. "You think it's connected?" I murmured to him. Titan gave one sharp, certain yes bark. I ripped the bag open, baby clothes, a teddy bear, a pacifier. Nothing, but beneath the pile my eyes caught a glint of metal, a small oval metallic patch sewn into the lining, no bigger than a 50-cent piece. Before I could inspect it, one paramedic yelled, "She's losing consciousness." They lifted her onto the stretcher. Her eyes fluttered. "Please, my baby," she whispered weakly. As the stretcher rolled out, Titan was still barking, following, completely unsettled. I ran beside them, my mind racing. Whatever was happening wasn't just medical. Titan's behavior made that perfectly clear. He was trying to tell me something, and as the ambulance doors slammed shut, swallowing the scene, I knew this was far, far from over. I stood in the swirling chaos of the ambulance bay, lights flashing, sirens beginning their terrible wail. Lewis, the lead paramedic, was already climbing in. "We're heading to Central General," he called out. "Premature labor suspected, possible internal trauma." Titan wouldn't stop. He was pulled taut against the leash, desperate, nose pointed straight at the closing doors. I tried to steady him. "Easy, boy. She's in good hands now." But Titan lunged again, a guttural howl escaping him, eyes fixed on Evelyn's midsection as the doors closed. Lewis paused, looking back. "What is wrong with that doc?" "He's not wrong, Lewis." I admitted, my voice rough. "That's what worries me." Titan whined loudly, then circled the vehicle, sniffing the tires to the ground. He wasn't just alerting. He was tracking something. Perez jogged up beside me, breathing hard. "He's still at it? What's he picking up?" "I don't know," I said, reaching into the paper bag and pulling out the metallic patch that was now reflecting faintly under the harsh emergency lights. Titan immediately barked, plunging toward it, nose twitching violently. "There's something here," I murmured, "something he recognizes." Before Perez could respond, the ambulance engine roared to life. Titan howled, a sound of alarm, not aggression, a sound that screamed, "The danger is leaving. The danger is still inside her." I watched the flashing lights disappear into the early morning traffic and whispered under my breath, "Whatever it is, it's not over yet." Back inside the control room, the ambulance screeched into Central General, all flash and sound, and I arrived moments later, breathless, showing my shield to the head nurse. I remember the smell hitting me, that antiseptic metallic hospital smell, mixing with the lingering, faint synthetic odor Titan was still picking up. I told myself it was adrenaline, but my heart was still pounding a wild rhythm against my ribs. I found the trauma room, and through the glass I saw the team working. Evelyn, pale and trembling under the harsh white lights. Dr. Alpert, a tall man with focused, gray eyes, was moving a portable ultrasound probe across her swollen belly. I waited, tight as a drum. The monitor flickered, then held a silence. Dr. Alpert frowned. He adjusted the probe, eyes narrowing. "That's unusual," he murmured. The nurse leaned closer. "What is it, doctor?" He didn't answer immediately. He pressed the device slightly harder. The outline on the screen was wrong, jagged, uneven, not the smooth, rounded curve of a baby's body. Something metallic reflected faintly inside. I saw Dr. Alpert's face pale. "This isn't normal fetal movement," he said quietly, his voice tight. "There's something artificial here, a foreign object inside the abdominal cavity. It looks like a shell casing or part of a sealed container. Titan, who had been standing tense beside me, let out a sharp whine, his body vibrating as if confirming every terrible word. The nurse gasped. "You mean she's not actually pregnant?" Dr. Alpert hesitated, taking off his mask and rubbing his chin. "There's a structure imitating a fetus, but it's entirely synthetic. Hollow compartments. I've never seen anything like it. Get the surgical team ready. We need to remove this now." My breath caught in my throat. She's carrying something. That's what Titan sensed. That's what the metallic patch was for. An activation device, a marker, something. Moments later, the alarms sounded again. The gurney was rushed toward the operating theater. Evelyn's head rolled weakly to the side, her eyes glassy with fear. "Please," she whispered hoarsely. "I didn't want to do it." I followed as far as the double doors would allow. And there, in that sterile, silent corridor, watching the red surgery in progress light glow like a warning sign, I finally understood the look in Titan's eyes. He hadn't been alerting to a threat in the traditional sense, not a bomb, not a gun. He had been trying to save her, trying to warn us before the deadly secret inside her killed its host. The waiting felt endless. Hours dragged by, marked only by the urgent footsteps of nurses and the muffled beeping of monitors. I kept thinking about Evelyn's pale face, her sheer, absolute terror. She wasn't the hardened criminal I was used to seeing. There was guilt there, yes, but mostly just the profound fear of a trapped animal. Finally, the door swung open. Dr. Alpert stepped out, removing his gloves, his expression grim, exhausted. "Officer Rollins?" "That's me." "What did you find, doctor?" He took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "It was not a pregnancy, Jake," he said at last. Her abdomen contained a sophisticated, hollow silicone structure shaped like a uterus, complete with a small mechanical pump designed to mimic a fetal heartbeat for screening purposes. My stomach twisted. Not even close to pregnant. "The device," he continued, contained over a dozen sealed microcompartments, layered within the fake abdominal wall. We found highly concentrated liquid fentanyl, enough to supply an entire trafficking ring for months. I stared at the hospital floor, my fists tightening, the pieces slammed together with brutal clarity, the practiced movements, the terror, the desperation. She was part of a smuggling operation, faking pregnancy to bypass the full body scanners. Dr. Alpert nodded, running a hand through his graying hair. "He always does," I confirmed. I knew the detective work had to start immediately. This wasn't just one woman. This was a whole system, a network using the disguise of innocence to transport death. And thanks to Titan, we had the first link. "Evelyn," I asked quietly, my voice softening, "do you know the person who put you up to this?" She nodded, tears streaking down her pale cheeks. "The main man goes by Silas. He runs a private courier company, ships supposed medical supplies through major international hubs. I was supposed to meet one of his people at the connecting gate, hand over the prosthetic, collect my money, and disappear." She swallowed hard, trying to steady her voice. "They have others, Jake, more women, on different flights today." "When, Evelyn? When are they arriving?" "This afternoon," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Two of them, flights from Lisbon and Dubai." That was all I needed to hear. Within 2 minutes, I was on the radio with command. "This is Handler Rollins, K-9 Titan. Code red. Narcotics trafficking in progress. Initiate full lockdown on incoming flights from Lisbon and Dubai. Suspect connected to a smuggling ring under the alias Silas." Hours later, the chaos erupted again at the SVIT terminal. But this time, we were ready. The K-9 unit flooded the customs area. Passengers poured in. Titan was on point, nose twitching, eyes locked on every approaching face. Then he froze, tail stiff. A woman in an oversized scarf and a long burgundy coat stepped through, her hand resting protectively on her stomach. Titan barked once low, sharp and decisive. "K-9 alert. Detain her now." The officers swarmed. The woman panicked, trying to flee, but a quick takedown brought her to the ground. When they removed the prosthetic belly, the sight beneath confirmed everything. Another fake pregnancy, another silicone womb filled with high-grade fentanyl. Moments later, security intercepted a man in a dark suit waiting near the baggage claim. He was carrying forged passports, tickets, and a satellite phone linked to a number registered to Silas Kress. I watched as the man was led away in cuffs. Titan sat proudly at my side, chest rising and falling in a steady, satisfied rhythm. "You did it again, partner," I whispered, running a hand over his thick, warm coat. "You stopped them all." Titan gave a soft whine, leaning his head against my leg. The horrifying truth was out, the threat neutralized, and once again, a dog's uncompromising loyalty had saved countless innocent lives and, more importantly, rescued a victim. It was long past midnight when I finally sat down on the curb outside the precinct, the quiet hum of the night replacing the sirens and shouting. I was exhausted, my uniform wrinkled, my mind finally slowing down after a day that felt like a lifetime. Titan lay stretched out beside me, head resting on his paws, his breathing steady. For hours, adrenaline had kept me going, the chaos, the hospital, the arrest, the endless paperwork. But now, in the quiet, the weight of it all settled on me. I looked down at Titan, his amber eyes gleaming in the faint glow of the streetlights. "You were incredible today, boy," I said softly. "You saw what none of us could. You saved Evelyn, and maybe a lot more lives from that poison." Titan's tail gave a small, lazy thump against the concrete, as if to say, "Just doing my job, handler." I chuckled, but my smile faded into quiet reflection. You know, we see the worst of people in this job. Titan, the lies, the greed, the cold cruelty. But today you reminded me that there's still something pure about what we do. You don't judge the person, you just act on what's right. You saw danger and you acted without a second of doubt. He lifted his head, pressing it gently against my knee. The gesture said everything words couldn't. For the first time all day, I smiled without tension. "Come on, buddy," I said, standing up. "Let's go home." As we walked toward the patrol car, Titan's tail wagged slowly, calmly. The storm had passed, but our story, I knew, was just beginning to be told. The headlines, of course, were all about the hero K-9 and the dismantling of the syndicate of Silas. They called Evelyn a key witness and a victim of human coercion. But it all boils down to that one moment, doesn't it? The moment the world stopped and a dog chose to save a life, even a life engaged in terrible wrongdoing. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night, the thing I want to know from you watching this. When Evelyn Hayes stepped off that plane with a belly full of lethal narcotics, was she a criminal or was she a victim? If she had gotten through, hundreds of people could have died from that poison hitting the streets. But she was also a mother fighting for her son. Where does the law end and compassion begin? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Was Titan's instinct to savor the right call, or should the focus have been purely on the drug bust? Hit like if this story shocked you. Share it with someone who needs to hear about true loyalty, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more stories just like this coming soon. Thanks for watching.